to approve the minutes of February 2nd, 2022 as presented.
Thanks, Marcia.
A second?
Thanks, Ed and Amanda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Stop presenting. Excellent. Now we're on to public citizens to be heard. So if you are a citizen that would like to make a comment, we ask that you try to limit your comment to 3 minutes. And if you put your name in chat, we'll call on you. Or if you're on the phone, you can just unmute your microphone.
So Sarah, this is Steve. I have a few comments when you're ready to recognize me. I'm not sure I know how to put my name in chat.
Steve, that's fine. So Steve Simpson, go ahead with your comments.
Okay, and I will try to make it quick because I just have questions. So I have been tasked by the board of Friends of Cedar Mesa to do the due diligence relative to their potential purchase of the Nancy Sumner property adjacent to the Bears Ears Education Center. So as I was looking through that to ensure that Friends of Cedar Mesa can do what it would like to do relative to that purchase and the purchase of that building, I had a couple questions. When I looked, for example, at non-conforming uses, I'm not really sure what happens if this building turns into a tear down. The parcel of property is 0.12 acres, so just a little over 2/10 of an acre. And if the building is not serviceable, I'm not sure that conforming the language relative to conforming uses tells me what I can do with that parcel. I have questions relative to parking because I believe, having had the property surveyed, that the parking lot is on the UDOT right-of-way, so parking would presumably be on the right-of-way, and that's the same as it is at the Bears Ears Education Center as well. I think we're okay relative to setbacks if this turns into a tear down. There was some question relative to whether Friends of Cedar Mesa would like to build within the existing structure 2 employee studio apartments. And looking at the C3 designation, I'm not sure that they can do that because if I'm not mistaken, that references, okay, let me just look at it. That we could build a residential, I think in going through everything, the ordinance indicates that a single family residence would be fine, but I'm not sure that that would encompass the employee housing 2 studio apartment concept. And I think Marcia and I had a little conversation this afternoon because I was trying to pick her brain about how some of these issues actually wove into the current planning and zoning ordinance. So, Marcia, if there's anything I've forgotten, go ahead and bring it up. But I think those are the issues I have. And I'm not expecting an answer tonight. I'm just raising the issues so that as Friends of Cedar Mesa works through this, they know what to expect should they purchase the property.
Thank you, Steve. Commissioners, any thoughts, or do you want to take some time? Marcia, want to give some thoughts?
Just following up on that, when Steve asked me these questions, I kept going, I don't know. So I said, why don't you present them and become part of the role here so that we can talk? And what I'd like to ask is that we zoning code, because those are questions in the zoning code. So we could move on from public hearing and from public comments, and I circle them for when we talk about the ordinance that we're updating. If that's okay.
Yeah, and I think I'll simply step away once, we finish the public comment section, and y'all can work on it, during your regular session.
Thank you, Steve. Amanda, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, just, there were a lot of questions of really great substance there, and so, I think it would be great for us to see those over email, like maybe by the Friday before one of our next meetings, so we can have them on the agenda, and make sure that we fully address them and have the time to do research, so I definitely look forward to digging into them.
Okay, and I'll be happy to put together an email and send it out to you folks.
Thank you, Steve. And I agree with Marcia that Amanda, that it's gonna take us a little bit of time for us to review, because I did the same thing. I was like, oh, yes, maybe not. So, we would love to see them in writing. We will get you some answers. And thank you, Marcia, if you'll kind of remind us as we get to, these in the ordinance review, we can talk about them. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, thanks. Good night.
Good night. Was there anyone else who'd like to make a public comment? Okay, so, I'm not seeing anyone, so I'm just gonna move on to the next part of our agenda. We'll go on to, update from town council.
Okay, this is Lou Ann Hook, and I am at the community center trying to make a transition so that we can do some in-house meetings and also be able to log into a YouTube channel and look at past ones, video and audio. So there's a little shot of the screen, but still working on it. So we'll see how tonight goes. It's just another test run. But we've had a work session, the U of U Dark Sky group meeting, and then a regular meeting. So these are just a few of the top things that I think you might be the most interested in. Thanks to Erin, we've got a good job description for the town manager of Bluff, and it's going out to several job sites. And she included a little blip of why you might want to live in Bluff, and put together a pretty good job description. So we'll see if we can get some interested people. We bumped the salary up a little and tried to persuade somebody to come get to work. Out at the Mission, similar to what Steve Simpson was talking about with small housing, he brought a public comment last night wanting to do some small tiny house project out there, and he wants to come in to one of your meetings. So either I will forward the information to him to get signed up on an agenda, but anyway, just so you know, he wants to do like 7 of them out there at the Mission for the same types of reasons, like little studio things. The U of U did their second Dark Sky workshop, and that was real informative. Each of the students did all that. You guys were all there, but that was real helpful. Diana Davidson bought that light meter, so for the lighting ordinance, I took it out last night. You want to be somewhere between 20 and 22 on the meter range, and everywhere was over 21 except for right on the highway in front of KNC, and they were over 20. So I thought that was great, but I will run around and do some more, and Sarah offered to help do some of that. So we want to get it on a map and get a little more official. So we need to do that tonight or tomorrow night or sometime before the moon comes. The crack sealing is going to be happening around town, the last of the project that was going last year. Michael Havican has the rest of San Juan County doing some more of that. Let's see, we had the Bluff City Historical Preservation Association did a semi-final interview with the EPA to do a community-wide workshop to see about a safe travel route through town, and also one that would lead off to like the Great House and the Mission, Sand Island, some of the historical sites in town, so that, they'll know whether that they were awarded that grant by the end of March. And then there would be community workshops with everybody involved, UDOT, parks, the school, the town, everybody that would be interested would be an in-person 2-day workshop to work on that. Let's see, the San Juan County has a housing task force that they've set up, and Adrian Caesar and Molly Schmidt are on that task force. And I believe that's all that I wrote down, but does anybody have any questions? Alrighty.
No, thank you, Luann.
Yep, you're welcome.
Commissioners, any comments?
All right, very good. Carry on.
Thanks, Luann. So we'll move on to our next item agenda, which is land use clearances. We'll start with Mr. Munson, and I'll share the land use location. And commissioners, when I share my screen, I can't see you guys, so please speak up if there's something you want to see, or everyone should have had a chance to review this. Was there a discussion?
This is Marcia, and I think I did have a question. I have one first question, very simply, and that is, this is right kind of behind the laundromat area. Is that where this one is? Did I get, no, what is this?
This is Copper Cliffs.
Oh, this is another Copper Cliffs. Oh, the other one, I'm sorry, you're right, the other one is the one. Okay, good, keep going.
Okay. No, good questions. This is a
No,
Copper
I, we actually have 3 to do tonight, so.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, this one, it was a little hard to read. I was curious if the setbacks were drawn on.
Thank you, Amanda, I agree, Amanda, thank you.
You know, put together plans, that's when I gave the electrician to do the electrical on, but down through there farther, they're on the home. It's like 140 feet from the front edge, 27 feet from the south edge, and there's probably over 50 feet on the, about 45 feet, 50 feet on the west side.
I'm not sure that I'm seeing, I mean, thank you, Mr. Munson, for that clarification. I'm not sure that I'm seeing it in this application. I think I have all the pieces here, but the only housing one I have is this one. Maybe I didn't add everything.
There should have been one that showed the septic system, the road going up in, all the electrical plans that were with it.
So, Mr. Munson, I believe you. Let me dig through, because maybe I just didn't upload it to Drive.
Okay.
Give me just a minute to see if I can find it.
Yeah, he did send it originally. And it does
Amanda,
show
do you
up.
have it open? Because I could stop sharing and you could share.
Yeah.
And that's my fault for not adding it fully to the file.
Can folks see that?
Yes, thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, yours, Amanda.
Yeah.
So then those setbacks then are correct, because there are, from the street and from, okay.
The only change that might occur on that is that when the fellow came that was going and saw the septic tank, he said it might be better if the ran on the north side of the home rather than in the home, so that might change right there when we come right down to it. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Mr. Munson. Any other questions?
Should I, stop sharing this?
I think that's fine, Amanda.
I'll put it in the folder really fast too.
Thank you. Was there anything else we felt was missing or needed clarification?
I would like to make a motion, Sarah, to approve the Munson proposal for the house at Copper Cliff and, pending receiving the building permit from our LUC. So, yes.
Thank you, Marcia. I need a second.
Oh, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the land use clearance for the Munson Munn project, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I think that was unanimous. Okay, thank you. Mr. Munson, your project is approved, your land use clearance is approved. I will sign this and get you a copy of the signed one, tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming in and answering questions.
Okay, have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye. Sorry, making myself some notes. Okay,
That was my fault for not putting that in the folder, I apologize.
no worries. I mean, it's my fault too. I didn't do it either, so.
I think I said I would, I had emailed and said I would.
No worries. Let's look at Robin Pattons.
I make a motion to take the patent, LUC request off the table from our last meeting.
Thanks, Marcia. Can I get a second? To untable Robin.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor of untabling it, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Robin, are you with us tonight? Okay. I will.
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi, Robin.
Yep, I'm here.
Perfect. Let me share your land use clearance. Okay. I know we talked about this briefly at our last meeting, but was there any other questions from, sorry, there's just so many screens I have to click through to make this work. Were there any other quick questions through the commissioners?
Not for me.
Excellent. Thanks, Amanda.
Not for me.
Robin, I think your application looks good and complete. The only thing that we mentioned to you last time is that all out exterior lighting should be shielded, so your lights around your doors will be shielded, but otherwise I think this looks good. Melissa, Ed, anything you wanted to add?
No addition?
No, not here.
Can I get it?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the land use clearance request for the Robin Patton home.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the land use clearance for Robin Patton, say aye.
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 I,
Excellent. Passes unanimously. Robin, your land use clearance is approved. I need to sign this for you, and then can I email it? Is that an okay way to get you a copy of the signed?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Robin.
Yeah, thank you all.
Sorry, I'm making myself some notes. We'll stop sharing Robin's, and we'll move on to Linda Lennon. Linda, are you on tonight by chance? If so, feel free to unmute your microphone.
I see her on, so she's on, so give her a second.
Andy. present hers as well. So, Marcia, this is the property behind the laundromat.
Sorry about that. I was gonna walk over there today and got distracted by speed questions and forgot to go over.
Were there questions or concerns from the commissioner?
I have, I'm sorry, Melissa, go ahead. You go.
Sarah, or who's ever showing the screen, can you stop right there, just for context, the part that's colored brown, the part that's colored yellow, on that screen right there, I believe it's page 5 in the packet I have, can someone help me out with what those colors mean? Is that a lot, is that an existing structure? I'd love some context.
Linda, if you're with us, could you speak to that?
Yeah, this is Luann, but Linda, in case you're struggling with finding the unmute button, on this particular site, you need to go clear to the bottom and you'll see a camera and a microphone pop up. We cannot unmute you.
Luann, can you orient us then for just a minute?
Okay, I'm sorry, tell me the question again.
So on the screen, Luann, there's the parcels, there's a brown and a yellow parcel that are kind of colored, highlighted. Can you help us understand what we're looking at? Is that the parcel that she's building on and an existing structure? What's the brown?
Can you zoom in just a little bit?
Probably
Trying to
not. Let me
get-
see. Maybe I can.
Oh wait, that's the highway coming by, yeah, go in a little more.
Does that help at all?
Yes,
Makes things
it does.
fuzzy.
It does. I'm not sure why it is yellow, but it looks like the highway we'd be coming across there, and then that big piece south of the brown should say it should be a hook name on that. That's right adjacent to the laundromat. And then that brown one would be north of it. So when you're going past the laundromat, there's a piece between there and the wash, and then just straight north of that and south of Schloss's property. So if you look on the street that Aaron lived on, that corner, that's there's Linda
Hi,
on now.
this is Dan Lennon.
Dan, okay, all right,
I finally figured it out.
okay. But
Oh, hiding.
yeah, so that north, just straight north of the brown, the big kind of square that's off, that is, the street comes by and it goes right by Aaron's house and then goes into there. So Schloss's is north and that piece would be to the south, if that helps.
It does. Dan, what are we looking at when we're looking at yellow and brown? What is the brown square?
My apologies for the brown. The yellow is actually the lot that we own. And
Okay.
the brown was trying to mark over some other marks that were on the page from the plat map. So they really don't represent anything. My apologies.
No worries.
My apologies, I must have really misread this. I'm sorry. So show them which one is the street then that I was just describing. It must be right at the corner of the yellow.
North is up the map. The street is coming directly in across, kind of catty corner from the Larry Lama house.
Yeah, can you guys see my cursor? My little arrow?
No.
No?
This map is actually turned so that north is to the right
Yeah.
on it.
So this should be, so here's the highway, right? This is the highway.
Yes, and now
This
we
is
see
your
your
lot.
cursor. Yep, we see your
This is the
cursor.
Lama Larry lot.
No,
This is just an arrow mark.
that,
Correct.
Okay. We're all on the same page. This
But-
is Black Locust.
that's.
Yep.
Hold on just 1 second though, just to clarify the confusion I created. The yellow is their lot and straight north would be Schloss's. And then this
Okay.
little tiny one is Larry's, and these three, there's the one that's for sale, the 3 strips, there's one that's for sale, and then 2 that are Fouché.
These
Correct.
three? in the
Yeah,
red?
those three right there are
Okay.
the three that are right behind the laundromat. And then that
Oh, I
one's,
see.
so,
So
yes,
this trapezoid here, whatever this is the laundromat. These are lots behind it, and so you're actually catty corner to the laundromat.
Yes.
Oh, I got it.
okay, sorry for the other.
Can you please, indicate proper access to your lot? In other words, use your cursor, Sarah, and follow, it's the dirt road next to the laundromat, right? And goes up and takes a left there, and is that how you access that lot? Mr. Lennon?
Yeah, and if you were driving into the Larry Lama house and just continued on, you'd veer slightly to the left and be on the property.
And that is a platted street, or is it a, what, how do you,
It's Black Locust, technically.
I think if we look at the next handout, or the next piece of paper which has the plat on it, you'll be able to see that there are two monuments there.
there?
This one?
Yeah, if we bring that across, you can see that Black Locust is actually that upper pin, and then the access point would be between those two pins, is our assumption.
Okay, so this, my cursor's here, this is Black Locust, and then you'd access like this.
Correct, right where that arrow is.
Gotcha.
And that corresponds with the site plan.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Just to clarify, you go down Black Locust, which is dirt at that point, that's, behind, and you're kind of, yeah, you're taking a left towards Larry Lama's, and you're continuing past Larry's, and you take a left into your property, kind of,
It would be a slight angle.
a slight left, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Lennon, the reason I'm asking you is just to clarify proper, access to the lot, because Luff is known for, strange little lot enclosures that don't always get there. You can't get there from here. So I just want to clarify for all of us that you have legal access on a roadway to your lot.
As far as we know, the people we've checked with the planning office said, looking at the plat map, that having the two pins there and having it be the end of Black Locust meant that was an automatic access point.
Huh, okay. Okay, then I will accede to those, definitions and say that you do have access.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Mr. Lennon. I'm gonna scroll down to the site plan. Looks like you have your septic and I'm assuming you've shown us this to show that there's water and power, although maybe you don't have the agreements for water and power at this point. Am I understanding that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and this would also be turned 90 degrees off of what it's actually drawn. North will be up to the right on this, the way it's oriented.
And I apologize for not being able to change the orientation.
I believe there's a confirmation on that document, though. It does show north as drawn.
Right.
Do we have setbacks marked on this, or is it just drawn that way? Are they on the next one, perhaps?
They're on that page.
There's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, I got it, yep.
Yeah, there's 25 feet on the north and the south, and 15 feet on the east and the west.
Perfect. I'm gonna keep scrolling, but if you've got things you want me to stop and look at. Excellent.
I guess the only one that would be one to stop on would be that one.
This one?
Yeah, it's just an elevation study to show the height, the maximum height, just slightly over 13 feet. And also the proposal for exterior lighting will be limited to just 2-foot high, downcast, solar powered wayfinding lights.
Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
Sarah, can I ask Mr. Lennon, I noticed, is this the one that has the solar array then next to it?
Correct, on the south end.
Okay. And that fits well within your setbacks, et cetera, and not, just because it's rather imposing sometimes to have that there.
Yeah, it should be well within, it'd be more like 100 feet.
Okay, that's great. That's nice.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Amanda?
Oh, no.
So, this appears to me to be a complete application, unless there's no further discussion, I make a motion to approve this land use clearance.
I'll second.
All in favor of approving the Lennon land use clearance, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lennon. This was actually a physical copy that was handed to me. Is there a preferred way for you to receive your signed land use clearance?
It might be easier, Linda is in town, if she just came by.
Okay, she's welcome to do so, or we can arrange a time for her to meet with me. Well, does she know how to get a hold of me, Mr. Lennon?
So how would that be?
She could email me, I'm Sarah, SarahPZ @gmail.com, so she could email me, and give me a time we could meet, or if she tells me where she's staying, I could take it directly to her. That might be easiest.
Okay, I'll have her give you an email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks.
Okay, so on to review of public comments from our public hearing on the 16th. Hopefully you guys have been reading through. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing your document. Melissa's been compiling all of that so we can kind of look through. I've kind of thought of some things that I feel we got the most comments on that maybe we should talk about. One being kennels and one being commercial zone setbacks. Both received significant comments. So, and I'll open this to commissioners. If there was something else you felt that we should discuss, please let me know. But I thought I'd maybe start us off with kennels. Just because go ahead, Amanda.
The third thing I'd like to discuss is our density recommendation and the comment made by Jen Davila.
Thank you, Amanda.
And if we have time, Sarah, could we add a discussion of this, the wording that stumped me when I was talking with Steve, which is in all of our descriptions of zones, it says you can have a single-family dwelling, but doesn't say anything about home, dwelling, apartment, or whatever. I'm gonna make sure, because that was an excellent point. Steve said, well, can I have a duplex?
Yeah. Yes, I think that's a very interesting thing for us to talk about. So, residents, what you can have in commercial or agricultural zones. Okay, yes, let's do all of those things. We have 20 minutes, so we'll do our very best to cover as much as we can, and we might have to just bump everything to our next meeting. But okay, so let's start with kennels. There's been the resounding feedback for those listening who maybe haven't seen all the comments. The resounding feedback has been a concern about having kennels near residential zones, specifically without having a noise ordinance in place. So I do understand that noise is definitely the big concern. There was support for having kennels in the Factory 1 zone. Unfortunately, we don't have anything zoned Factory 1, so maybe good for the future, but not immediately helpful. Anyway, I'll open the floor for comments and feedback.
Can I go to it?
Yeah, go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah, I think we should be responsive to these comments. I will note that the kennels are already allowed in our C3 zone, and we didn't propose any changes to that, so I'm not sure we could change that without a public hearing. I think A2 is still an area that would be good for kennels throughout town, because we have a lot of our peripheral space is A2. I'm wondering more if we should look at the definition of kennel and define it to say like that dogs or animals are kept in at night or something. Because I know we are adding the definition for kennels, so maybe that's a change we could look at.
Amanda, very good points, and thank you for your comment about C3. That is a good point, is that we did propose removing that, so I agree. I think that would require a hearing but I also agree with the idea of maybe clearly defining what a kennel has to be, what precautions they would have to take to be compliant in their zones might be useful as well. Other thoughts or comments, Marcia?
One of the comments that I thought about, and I mentioned it to Sarah when we were walking by each other on the street the other day and chatted for a minute, and that was the idea that one of the things missing in our code, like in my opinion, that planning and zoning had talked about it evidently a long time ago when they made the code, was a conditional use section. And basically, conditional use is in fact virtually perfect for kennels, because what you say is kennels would be a conditional use in the A2 zone or the C3 zone or whatever zone you choose, and then when the people come to that specific site, you can issue the permit with conditions, and that therein lies the conditional use, and you can say, aha, you must have 17 feet thick walls because you're next door to my house, or something like that. So we don't have that open to us, so we're going to have to, in fact, be very careful of how to do this, because I thought Luann's list the other day was just eye-opening, because looking on the map, you just go, oh, purple. When Luann named the places they should go, it was rather graphic, if you will. So we all agree we have a problem to address, and I'm not sure definition can cover that, but I think we could try. And last comment is, we did get comments, for example, from Bark saying, well, we're going to build with, sawdale and noise and whatever else they suggested, which is wonderful, but we're not doing this for Bark. We're doing it for the word kennel by anyone. So we have to be very careful to know what we're getting into, no matter who comes to town and builds one.
So Marcia, in response to conditional use, are you proposing creating a conditional use section for our ordinance?
Yes, however, I must say that you two, you and Amanda and Melissa, were very concise when you explained that you had discussed having it and didn't choose to. And so I'm not going to sort of upset the apple cart by going, oh, but you have to. I think you do have to, with this is a perfect example, but it's a whole new can of worms. So, I throw it out there to be discussed. Or go back to definitions like Amanda said.
Thank you, Marcia. I wonder if we could, in the meantime, in the interim, because if we were to look at a conditional use, that's a significantly longer process. But I wonder if there would be a way to write it. One of the comments we also got was from Underdog in Moab, and some of the things that they had, well, trying to think of it, some of the things that they had discussed as the ways they operate. I wonder if we could maybe go off of some of the things that they're using to mitigate nuisances in their community, if we could use that as part of our definition. So in the interim, or in the future, we could maybe help alleviate some of that noise. Because I'll also say this, that I know that there was a big concern about having a noise ordinance. I don't think that town, and Luann, you can jump in if you'd like, but I don't think the town council is ready to pursue a noise ordinance. So I don't think that that's the solution at this moment either. Marcia?
I just wanted the rest of that sentence is, even with the noise ordinance, barking dogs is one of the hardest non-compliant things in the world. So we shouldn't look to the word noise ordinance to mitigate this whole situation either. Sorry.
And I'm not sure that,
Amanda, oh, sorry, go.
oh, sorry.
Luann and then Amanda. No,
Okay.
let's go ahead, Luann.
I'm not sure that we have made any decision on a noise ordinance not being a thing that we would like. I think it was just not as a high a priority as some of the other things that the group was working on. It, in my opinion, and I'm just one of the council, is that it kind of goes hand in hand with the lighting ordinance. It's lighting trespass and it's noise trespass. So I'm not sure that that's altogether true. It's just that we certainly do not have one on the books at this time.
Thanks, Luann. Appreciate that clarification. Amanda?
I was gonna suggest that if we wanna go the definition route, which sounds like it might be a temporary solution, our definition currently reads, that a kennel means a structure, building, or series of buildings where dogs or cats are bred, trained, or boarded. And perhaps we could add to that where dogs and cats are bred, trained, and boarded, and are housed indoors with a person on site 24/7. So I believe the indoor housing and the person on site at all times were two of the components that made the Underdog place in Moab so successful, and that it's had no complaints.
Amanda, add the words, outdoor play, outdoor yard available, exercise yard available, because we don't want them stuck in the house.
Thanks, Amanda. I think that would be good clarification and maybe at least give us a little bit more, a little bit more defined as to what a kennel has to be so that we can maybe mitigate some of these problems.
I'm not sure how to add the place to play outside. But
I can't see it, but comma, indoor quarters, outdoor exercise yard, personal, just kind of a list of what they can have. I don't know, I can't see it, but.
Sorry, I
You
can't.
write good, you can do it. You write goodly.
So, I know there's concern over A2 because it's also adjacent to residential properties. I think, though, one of the biggest concerns was the C3 because that is almost exclusively adjacent to residential. I'm going to agree with Amanda that I don't think we can remove it from C3 since that wasn't the proposal. But are we comfortable keeping kennels in A2?
I'm curious, just thinking, if we're gonna use a definition like this, just thinking about, if we think these are the things that keep like barking dogs from not barking, which seems to be the issue, then could we allow kennels in all zones? And I'm not proposing that we do, I'm just saying, does having this definition mitigate or work to mitigate or fix the problem of barking dogs? And secondly, I feel like requiring a person on site at all times is, maybe that's the success in dealing with barking dogs, but I also feel like it's a huge burden to in operation of a kennel. I think the issue is about barking dogs. So how do we tie all that back in? I don't know the answer. I'm thinking about that.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate your thoughts. I wonder if maybe you could say maybe not on site at all times, but a person or on hand or available. Because that's the other thing too, is you don't just want like dogs left in a kennel and then someone comes over and feeds them twice a day and that's it. There's like no there's not someone to like monitor. Or I also think indoor goes a long way. Just not being pinned in the yard, because even if they are barking in the middle of the night indoors, at least there'd be some sound barrier.
I like the person available, a responsible, available worker or attendant, because I agree with Melissa, telling someone they have to live in the back of the kennel, for. I like available. It's kind of like the same thing for short-term rental. If a neighbor calls with a problem, there's got to be someone you can contact.
Exactly. Well, so a person available at all times, what's the right way to describe that?
Responsible attendant or somebody like, give them a title.
I think you say person available who can be contacted as needed or something like that. I don't know. With concerns, I don't know. But I kind of agree. Almost like having a site manager. So if there is a problem, there's someone to call. Ed, did you have something you wanted to add?
Quite a good conversation.
Thanks, Ed.
So at the moment, it's still in C3 because you're saying we can't change it because we didn't say we would. And you're saying we want to add A2 because we discussed it as being another good location. And do we want to leave it in our F1 definition, even though we don't have the designation of an F1?
So, yes, and yes. I would say leave it in F1, and then maybe we should look at, and because that would be a whole nother thing where we'd have to change the zoning map and do a whole nother hearing on changing the zoning. But potentially, yes, look at zoning something F1 in the future, and then I think it would be anything that would be zoned F1 would be a good place for kennels. So they would be theoretically for the furthest things from town.
Right, not towards the airport or up above or something. Yeah. Okay. Good. So that takes care of kennels. We're good.
Okay, that leaves us with 7 minutes.
Can I just ask, and I don't know what the words are, but in that definition of kennel, is there anything that we can use to discuss noise? I don't know what that is. And short of like a noise ordinance, I get we're not talking about that, but is there anything in the definition that makes sense? Like trying to
somehow calling out a nuisance, like putting a nuisance clause in here somehow.
Kind of, it's tricky. I don't know how to do it, but I feel like that's what the issue is about noise.
I wonder if you could just put, you say like an indoor housing, and multiple measures are taken to reduce the noise of barking animals, or I don't know. Sorry, Marsh, your head no.
I think what happens there is you become prescribed, which you wouldn't let me doing something else that I tried and kept going, no, that's just fun. So I agree with you, Melissa, it would be nice to be able to say it, but if we're defining it, we're not telling you what to do. However, I did think of one thing. I don't know what we're doing about licensing kennels or businesses or something like that. And we, by the way, are not, it's the town. If the town said, when you come in for a business license, we make sure that you meet all codes, okay? And if they said short-term rental, we have the codes we gotta meet. And for dog kennel, we have on the application a paragraph about, you know, noise and nuisance kind of things. And that would be up then to the town to have its license procedures. I do not know the legality of what to do about that, but that would be the town taking it up specifically.
I think that's been pretty fixed. And the comment from the Underdog had said they're a licensed facility, which means, like what Marcia's saying, like there are other like rules in place, and I think kind of in the same way we've written into ordinance, like applicable fees or whatever, like, but like there isn't a fee charge, but then it applies. So kind of like maybe in this paragraph, like a licensed operation, when that's applicable, or whatever the correct text is.
Thank you, Melissa and Marcia.
Yeah, and this is just a problem of the horse before the cart of the town with the planning and zoning and rolling along to what, you know, the town eventually is gonna have a list of businesses and, you know, what's required for each of those businesses. And then they'll have, you know, specifics. So right now, I like the fact that we define it as well as we can. And then we suggest to the town to take the next step of, when they come get their license, the paragraph says, be good.
Okay. Good discussion, guys. Well done. We have 3 minutes left. Do we want to tackle density, or do we want to have 3 minutes to go on something else? Okay, Marcia's got a hand up. Go ahead, Marcia.
I suggest, Sarah, that the chair determines whether we just bump this to the next meeting, or if in fact we might need to have a work session to complete this. I know, I'll make the same case with you. I don't have a lot of time in my life right now to do anything, but I'm just saying, we need to concentrate on finishing this with the list.
I agree with you, Marcia. Well, it's a good point of discussion. Our next meeting would be, sorry, pull up calendar. The next meeting is March 16th. Oh, funny how they mirror each other this time. So March 16th, we could potentially do a work session next week. Sorry, I can't do anything this week, but do we want to just devote our next regular meeting to this, or do we want to do a work session?
I would prefer to not do a work session, but I also need to ask for an excused absence on the 16th. So I realize that isn't ideal in either circumstance, and I trust that you guys will do great things without me. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate your transparency. I agree that it would be best for my schedule not to do an additional work session, but I do feel that we could devote, assuming we don't have like 3 land use clearances, a gangbuster night for that. We could devote our next meeting exclusively to amendments.
I just believe that's correct, only because we're in the process of getting this ready. We still have to give it to the town. So we need to just be eating it, finishing kind of thing.
I think our goal should be, let's do it this way. Our goal will be to wrap this up March 16th. If we can't, I will have a work session the following week so that it don't get to town council. Does that feel like an okay thing? Gets nods.
We could also, like, if we end up having a lot of land use clearances, maybe we could make the meeting, the next meeting like an hour and a half too.
That's true. We could also extend the length and do to 7:30. That's maybe why don't. Well, I'll let you know. we get lots of land use clearances, I'll make that extension automatically. Does that sound okay to people? Okay. Okay, let's do that. All right. Any other business before we call it good?
Do I need a motion, or do we need a motion to table items 4 and 5?
Probably, yep.
Okay, I motion to table items 4 and 5 on the agenda.
Second.
Thanks, Ed. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. So we've tabled our items.
Sarah,
Yeah. Go ahead,
Sarah,
Commissioner.
for 1 second, what we missed, in my opinion, at the last meeting was, would you just share what the time, not the timetable, but the steps are for this, for those listening? What we are going to do in presenting it to town, et cetera, for the changes.
Yes, thank you, Marcia. So after we've reviewed and discussed the public comments, we will make our final planning and zoning's final edits to this document, hopefully as of the 16th. That document will then be recommended to town council. Town council will then review it. They have the opportunity to make edits and changes. They will then vote on it. When they vote on it, it becomes the new ordinance. And hopefully all of that we'll give it to them in March. Hopefully by April, we'll have this process wrapped up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall. So I'm just gonna quickly do items for our next agenda. It will essentially be, review public comments, edit the zoning ordinance, and then vote on those amendments. And we'll keep it to that, plus our regular, approval of minutes and land use clearance. And then anything else before we go tonight? Ed, do you wanna make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Ed. Hey, a second.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Aye. Our motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned at 7:02. Thank everyone for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.